A few weeks ago, I came across an article that featured Walter and Joanne, a retired couple struggling to get a clear answer as to how to draw income from their investment portfolio as tax efficiently as possible. They had saved over $2 million, yet were still concerned about maintaining their lifestyle in retirement, something that is very common with retirees. Now, in the article, which you can find in the description below if you want to check it out first, a financial planner builds out a roadmap for them, which got me thinking. If I was working with Walter and Joanne, would I have the same approach or would I come up with different strategies? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to build out our very own plan for Walter and Joanne. So let's dive into it and see if we can make their plan even more efficient. All right, so we have Walter and Joanne. Now the article does give us a lot of information about them, but we're still going to have to make a few assumptions along the way. So as the article states, Walter is 68, whereas Joanne is 67, and they live in Alberta. So we'll be using Alberta and federal tax rates in this example. Now, when it comes to their government pensions, we'll start with Walter's CPP. He's receiving $1,060 per month after tax. But the article doesn't tell us how much tax is being withheld. So I'm going to assume 10%, which means on a gross basis, he's receiving $1,177 per month. So same idea for Joanne. We're going to assume on a gross basis, $902 per month and have 10% tax withheld. Now, when it comes to old age security, their plan was to defer it until age 70, but the planner recommends that they start it right away. So I have their OAS starting on April 1st of this year. Walter would receive $942 per month and Joanne would receive $885 per month. Now, when it comes to their properties, their home is worth $850,000 and they own a share of a family cottage worth $700,000, no debt. As for their expenses, they would like to spend $8,600 per month, of which $7,100 is their, let's call it day-to-day property taxes, groceries, all of that. And then they also have a travel fund of $1,500 per month. So again, in total, that's $8,600. Now, the article doesn't state whether or not that travel expense will drop off at a certain point. So let's just assume it's there throughout the life of the plan, which we have going until age 90. As far as their accounts, let's start with Walter. He has a RIF, $836,000, and we're assuming a 7% rate of return. So why are we using 7%? Well, that is what the planner in the article is using. So let's just compare apples to apples. Now, my personal opinion is that when we're making projections like this, I'd much rather use a lower rate of return just to be on the safe side of things. Not saying that 7% is not achievable, but again, I'd rather be more conservative. But just for the sake of this example, we'll stick to 7% across the board. Now, the article mentions that they have $322,000 in their tax-free savings account. I just split that evenly between Walter and Joanne, so $161,000, and we're going to keep topping that up every year. As far as Joanne is concerned, she has a LIF, $40,000, and as the article mentions, there's a small withdrawal coming from that account every year. Spousal RSP, $686,000, TFSA, $161,000, and then they also have a joint account invested in a REIT of $150,000. So based on their portfolio, just over $2 million, and the rate of return that we're using, 7%, they're going to be okay. And that's what the plan is going to illustrate here, is that they're currently 150% plus funded for retirement. So their monthly need in retirement is $8,600 per month. Their monthly ability is also $8,600 per month, and they have a retirement cushion of 10 plus years. So at age 90, what this is saying is that for Joanne, if she lives past 100 years old, there would still be enough money there to fund her retirement. Now, as far as their net worth over time, in this teal color, we have their lifestyle assets, so their home plus their cottage, so going up in value over time. In blue, we have their registered accounts, yellow TFSA, and brown, we have their non-registered accounts. So as the planner states, he would like to keep their tax bill as low as possible, so under $57,000 a year, because that is the first tax bracket when we're looking at Alberta and federal tax rates. So that's what we're doing. So 2025 for Walter and Joanne here, they're different income sources. So we have OAS just over $7,000 each, CPP just over $12,000, and we have the share going on there, as they mentioned in the article. Walter's withdrawing $60,000 from his RIF. Joanne is withdrawing just over $3,000 from her LIF. And then of that $60,000, we're splitting $23,000 to Joanne, and then she's also making another RSP withdrawal from the spousal of $11,000. So her total income is $57,000. Walter's sitting at $80,000, but after the income split deduction, he's also at $57,000. Now the following year, OAS is a bit higher because they're receiving it for a full year. CPP is higher due to inflation. The withdrawal from the RIF is a bit less because they have more income from the government pensions. So again, just to speed through this, same idea. After the income split, they're sitting at about $58,000 each. So again, we're assuming that the tax brackets will go up with inflation in Alberta and federally as well. So with this strategy, it does keep their tax bill quite low over the next few years. It does jump up at a certain point because they're forced to make withdrawals from both of their retirement accounts. So we see the taxes go up. But if we include the year of death, this is where we see the tax bill jump up substantially. So their final tax bill is sitting at $1 million. And the reason for that is that they still have a lot of money left in their registered accounts at the plan's end. There's going to be some capital gains on the non-registered account and some capital gains on the cottage as well. So as far as what we would change with this plan is target a much higher income in retirement. So we would target $82,000 a year for both of them. What this has the effect of doing is we can see their RSPs are drawn down much more aggressively. So by the time we reach the plan's end, there's nothing left in those registered accounts. So their final tax bill is going to be a lot less. There's still some capital gains on the non-registered account and on the family cottage. But overall, their net estate is about $100,000 more by implementing this approach. Now that's at age 90. What I also like to look at is somewhere earlier in the plan. So let's use 2037 as an example. So with this approach, there's about $1 million left in their RSPs, or registered accounts, I should say. Whereas with the previous approach we were using in that same year, there's about $1.85 million left there. So an extra $850,000. So the problem with that is that if something happens to one of them, now there's only one person left, and that person is forced to take on all of that income, even if they're taking out the minimum. It's probably going to push them into the highest tax bracket, and now they're paying close to 50% tax in Alberta. Whereas with our approach of withdrawing more funds today while they're in a low tax bracket, so that gives us 12 years of both of them taking money out. So if something does happen to one of them, again, there's still $1 million there, but the minimum withdrawal is going to be a lot less, and they're probably going to not jump up into that highest bracket. So not only does this strategy look better at age 90 for Joanne, it also looks better if something happens to them earlier than expected. So my recommendation for Walter and Joanne would be to target a higher taxable income, so withdraw extra funds from their registered accounts, even though they don't necessarily need them, and use those funds to top up their non-registered accounts. This is going to make their estate a lot more tax efficient at the plan's end, and if something happens to one of them earlier in retirement, then it's also going to put them in a better position. For all of your retirement needs, check us out at transcanadawealth.com.